Welcome to I Care, I Volunteer, a special series focusing on volunteerism in Peel Region. I'm your host, Jackie Vieira. On today's program, we'll be discussing the Retired Seniors Volunteer Program offered by Volunteer MBC. We'll also meet one of its longtime volunteers and ambassadors, and as well, later in the show, hear from 3 representatives from Habitat for Humanity. Joining me now from Volunteer MBC are Community Engagement Manager Shaminda Pereira and Volunteer Community Outreach Ambassador Bill Judges. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Nice to see you again, Jackie.
Of course. So thank you. So first, now there's, I guess, a new initiative, I should say, with Volunteer MBC, the Retired Seniors Volunteer Program. Shaminda, what is that? Okay,
so it's all about encouraging older adults to be engaged in the community with volunteering. And in the previous episode, you would have heard Corinne sharing information about the health benefits that anyone will gain with volunteering. So the Retired Seniors Volunteer Program was available up to now since the start of Volunteer MBC. However, with the funding received by Community Foundation of Mississauga, now we are focusing our efforts a little bit more on Mississauga itself. And we have a group of volunteers who are getting together and researching and planning on what types of promotional events and how we are going to go about engaging the older adults in the community. And because we find there is a wealth of knowledge with the older adults which could leave a legacy. So it's all about engaging older adults.
Okay, so normally, I guess when a person, retires from their career, they usually perhaps will pick up a hobby or continue that. So how would you get those people who have retired, let's say, to come to your organization to volunteer? How do you get them interested?
Okay, so we have a lot of promotional activities planned out to bring out this target audience into our information centers and through volunteer fairs, and we visit various outreach opportunities given to us where there is a concentration of older adults, and we share with them the benefits of volunteering. And to the forefront, what we try to bring is our volunteer opportunities where they could be engaged in, where they could share their already expertise, and where they could be also engaged in the social environment, where they can expand their network and so on. So it's all about encouraging and sharing of the health benefits and various other benefits that goes along with volunteering.
Mm-hmm. Is that how they got you, Bill? How did they get you to take part?
Well, I was, I think, a little more proactive than that. I realized that I had to do something once I retired. So I went on the website, or I went on the internet, and Googled Volunteer Mississauga, and up popped Volunteer MBC. So I spent, I don't know, maybe half a day going through that, and gave Volunteer MBC a call.
This is just that easy.
Well, yeah, but first of all, you got to decide what to do, and to do it. There's a lot of people, I think, maybe don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Shaminda, what types of opportunities are there for, retired seniors to take part in volunteering?
Well, there are many types of opportunities. Like, so one good example is Bill, who's one of our community outreach ambassadors, where they go out there to the community and share information about the organization, share the value of the organization in the community, and then engage the community with the organization. But we also have opportunities where there are mentorship programs, whether it's mentoring youth to learn their true potential, or whether it's an mentorship opportunity where there are new immigrants who are trying to get into the employment force. And I know for a fact that we also have opportunities where the older adults are mentoring older adults if they want to get into sort of contractual type of self-employment. So those are the mentorship type of opportunities. But today you will be also hearing about Habitat for Humanity, and they have they have this initiative of building homes in the community. So to lead the build crew, they need volunteers with the expertise to manage that team. So they have their team leads who, when the position could be taken over by an older adult. So as long as you are able to share your expertise and you're able to take on the requirements of the position, an older adult will be able to be engaged in a volunteer opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I've seen, several, or I should say many, elderly retired volunteers in the community. Well, I would say mostly in hospitals. I've seen them, and perhaps even sometimes at, community events, whether it's for, or rather, community organizations like, say, a food bank or such like that. But I mean, it's everywhere. It's in any industry, like you said, like Habitat for Humanity. What are some other organizations that retired volunteers can offer their services and their expertise?
Okay, so you mentioned about the food banks, and so going along with the food services field, you have shelters who are looking for assistance to help those who require the services of a shelter in the community, and you have organizations who are focusing towards the protection and advocacy of animal rights. You have organizations who are supporting the protection and advocacy of the environment. So, like Bill said, it's about what are you passionate about and what do you like to do. We will have an opportunity, most probably in our database.
Bill, for you, you've been a volunteer for many years. Is there any interactions or experiences that may stick out in your mind?
Well, it's kind of, when I went to Volunteer MBC, well, first of all, let me say, I have volunteered I was a Cub Scout leader for 7 years, okay, a long time ago, when it was explained to me that if I wanted my son in, I was in. But I'll bring it up to date with Volunteer MBC. What I found, as I say, my I guess motivation for volunteering were a little bit selfish. I wanted to keep my facilities together, and I wanted to stay in pretty good shape. So, and I was looking for something, like my background is sales and marketing, so I was looking for something that would allow me to maybe utilize what I had learned over the last 35 years. And so I got involved with going to schools and talking to the students about volunteering and why the positives of volunteering and why they should let Volunteer MBC help them. And that was fine. And the kids are always a little bit challenging, although I'd watched a lot of movies and they weren't as challenging as I thought they might be. But they're always a little bit challenging. And what really surprised me was I enjoyed it.
Oh.
I didn't expect to hate it, but I just thought, okay, I'll use this as a tool to stay sharp. But I really, really enjoyed the kids. And I remember one terrific session I had with a university.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm going to cut you off right
Sure.
there, Bill. We'll get you to share that story right after. But we will just take a short break right now. But we will be right back with more on I Care, I Volunteer. Welcome back to I Care, I Volunteer. I'm your host, Jackie Vieira. I am joined now by Shaminda Pereira and Bill Judges from Volunteer MBC. And just before our break, we were discussing volunteering. And Bill, you were mentioning an experience that you had that stuck out in your mind. Could you just elaborate?
Well, okay, I believe I was just talking about the unexpected, I guess, benefit of volunteering. It was the fact that and I'm talking now about dealing with school kids. I found that I really liked it. I mean, I really felt good about it. And anything that you like and feel good about, you tend to repeat. So really, that's why I've continued to do that sort of thing, simply because I do like it, and as long as I like it, I'd like to keep doing it.
And you mentioned previous, or just before the break, I should say, that you've been volunteering for a while now, and you were with Cub Scouts previous.
Yeah.
But what made you want to get into volunteering?
Very selfish reasons. I know people a few years older than myself that are having problems with dementia. And I know quite a lot of people, which, by the way, I think is really scary. And I know a lot of people who have physical problems as well. As far as I know, I'm okay on the dementia side of things, and I'm in reasonably good shape. So really, I did it as a preventative maintenance, which, but I didn't expect to hate it, but I really never expected to enjoy it, which I have.
Yeah, and because you've had such a positive experience, what would you offer as advice to seniors who may be on the fence about volunteering or unsure about it?
Well, if I can think back to what I was doing, I mean, okay, I'm going to volunteer. So if I don't like it, I can stop doing it. I can try something else. But I might like it. I mean, I know nothing about, as I say, I come from a business background, so I knew nothing about volunteering, about nonprofits or anything like that. So from an intellectual point of view, it's been interesting learning about that, eh? And I'm still trying to figure it out because, my whole being is conditioned. We do this if it makes business sense. The fact that it might make sense from a nonprofit point of view I'm still having a little difficulty with, but it still is very interesting and intellectually stimulating. Okay,
and Shaminda, I mean, going back to you about Volunteer MBC, for people who are just joining us, what is it about Volunteer MBC? Like, what sets it apart, I guess, from other volunteer organizations?
Well, we are the connector. What we do is we connect anyone who's searching for a volunteer opportunity with a volunteer opportunity. And these volunteer opportunities will exist with most of the nonprofit organizations who are our members. So right now we have over 180 member organizations, which means we have over 200 volunteer opportunities. The last time that I did a search for the number of volunteer opportunities, we had around 260 volunteer opportunities. So what we do is we connect the community with the community.
And how many volunteers? Because I mean, to have so many opportunities available, I'm guessing you must have many organizations that you connect people with. How many volunteers, I guess, do you look? I wouldn't say look over or mentor or guide.
Okay, so I believe what you're asking is how many volunteers have we referred to the community?
Right.
For 2014, we have referred over 30,000. Made over 30,000 referrals. So it's a huge number for, in the community that we are referring to. And all of these volunteers come back with good stories. So, yeah.
Okay, and do you have perhaps any recommendations for retired seniors who maybe are, considering this or who are perhaps still new to it?
Yep. So there are many community outreach activities that we do in trying to engage the older adults, as we say. We are as part of our plan in encouraging the older adults, we have many activities planned out. One of them is to have a volunteer fair. Now we like to have this volunteer fair to be something that the older adults, the volunteers, can take back with them. So rather than having a fair that is that has tables and where you give out flyers, we like to showcase some of the services that these member organizations do. So when an old adult comes to a fair and they see that these are the services that the organization provide, but I could also help them when delivering some of these services. And also, the most important thing is when you want to volunteer is to know what you want to do and identify the time frame and the schedules that you have to commit yourself to with the organization. Once you figure that out, once you know what your objectives are, once you know what expertise you want to contribute to the organization, from there onwards it's all a matter of connecting with us, and we will help you connect with a volunteer opportunity.
Okay, and Bill, I'm wondering, what have you heard on your travels as the ambassador for Volunteer MBC? What have you heard, not just from the youth, but perhaps even if you've met with other older adults who are volunteers or considering volunteering? What have they told you? I'll
leave the schools aside. I have done a little bit of work with seniors, and it's kind of some very interesting ones. I can remember a gentleman that came up to a table that we had at a seniors event, and he started talking. He seemed like just an ordinary guy until he started talking, eh? Then he started talking, and he told me what I considered to be an amazing story. He started off poor, as a lot of people have done, and he went to a school that offered no extracurricular activities. He didn't even know there was such a thing as an extracurricular activity until his dad got a raise, and then they moved, and then he got into a different school which had these extracurricular activities. But he'd never forgotten his first school. So what he was going, and he'd done quite well, eh? So what he was trying to do was to go back to his original school and introduce some of these programs that he now knew existed that they still didn't have, and he was prepared to conduct the programs, and he was prepared to finance the programs. And I found that a tremendously inspiring story. Once again, another feel-good story. And you'd meet him on the street, and you would never dream that this was the type of individual that you're dealing with.
So it's basically not knowing what's out there. And so quickly, Shaminda, if you could just tell us where can people go to get information, older adults can go to find more information about Volunteer MBC.
Yep, so our volunteer referral service is offered in two ways. If you're comfortable browsing through our website, all you got to remember is the top right-hand corner of our home screen. That's where you have the Contact Us button as well as the access to our Volunteer Opportunities database. But we don't stop there. We also open our doors where you could either by appointment or even by walk-in. I would recommend by appointment. Mm-hmm. You come, meet with our consultants, and then we will explore as to what you want to do, and then we'll try and match you with an opportunity that is an ideal fit for you.
All right. Well, thank you, Shaminda, and thank you, Bill, for joining me. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with more on I Care, I Volunteer.
Thank you.
Welcome back to I Care, I Volunteer. I'm joined now by Alice Suvanak-Healy, the Volunteer Recruitment Coordinator at Habitat for Humanity, and volunteers Clayton Smith and Bob Perkins. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Habitat for Humanity, it's known for building homes for those who cannot afford their own. But what else is Habitat for Humanity about?
Habitat for Humanity is a non-for-profit organization in which we mobilize volunteers and community partners in building affordable housing as well as promoting home ownership as a means of breaking the cycle to poverty. Actually, in 2013, we had almost 10,000 volunteers donate their time in the Brampton, Caledon, Toronto, and York Region area.
That's
so
substantial.
It's huge. And if you're looking at those numbers, for every one paid staff, we had 120 volunteers donate their time.
My goodness, wow. And is this something that happens all year when they are helping?
It is. It's a yearly thing. We're constantly always taking volunteers, and that's why volunteers are vital to our organization. They bring energy, passion, and dedication to our restores, our build sites, and our events, which makes it possible for low-income families to purchase affordable, decent homes through our home ownership program.
And I'm wondering, because I know Habitat for Humanity has existed for many years now, how did it become connected with Volunteer MBC?
We actually had a relationship and a partnership with Volunteer MBC prior to our amalgamation. We amalgamated in April of 2014. So we had 3 affiliates form to become GTA. So that was Brampton, Caledon, Toronto, and York Region.
Oh, I see. Okay. And how does Habitat for Humanity, I should say, reach out to, I guess, older seniors, or rather retired seniors in the community, because their expertise is required, I guess, or much needed on site?
Senior volunteers can get involved with our organization in many ways, whether that be on an individual basis, through corporate groups, community groups, as well as small groups of friends, and they can come with experience or no experience at all. But there are many rewarding ways in which they can be involved and contribute to our organization.
Okay, and so I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, because you are volunteers with Habitat for Humanity.
That's right.
So, Clayton, first, just speak with me and let me know, what is it that you do with Habitat for Humanity? Where are you?
Actually, I'm a crew leader. I go to the Torbram build site, and we help with putting up the structure of the building that's going up there right now.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that since July, August, somewhere there. Back in August, I attended a open session put on by the Habitat for Humanity at the Brampton Flight Club, and right away I knew this was something I was interested in. I was looking for volunteer work to do, and you know, this caught my attention. I investigated some more, and this suits what I'm doing right now. So I've been going there at least one day a week as a crew leader, helping to put these buildings up for people who need them.
Okay. And Bob, I understand you're with the Restore?
The Restore, yes.
Oh, how long have you been there?
Since 2005.
Okay, and what made you want to volunteer at the Restore?
Well, it came to a point when I retired, I had to do something. And I analyzed what I wanted to do, and I wanted to help people out. And by going to the Restore, the Restore supports the building of the houses, and so that's why I went for it, so that people who need homes can afford homes.
Mm-hmm. And have you met or perhaps spoken with other seniors who were considering, volunteering but were unsure about it? What have you said to them?
Well, I have a few friends in my community who does volunteer work with other groups, and like they would travel abroad and do stuff like that. But I think that working with Habitat, it really suits me because it's more of what I would like to do. And I know that I'm giving back to the community. I'm helping someone breaking that cycle of poverty where they can move into a new home, a new affordable home. And it gives me a great feeling that I'm doing that for the community.
And Bob, I'm wondering, do you have any advice that you would offer someone who perhaps is considering volunteering?
I just say, come on out, we'll train you how to get the, like, I'm in the inspection department at the Restore, and what that means is that all products coming in are inspected before they're put out for sale. Particularly the lights, fans, vacuum cleaners, we inspect that to make sure they work before they go out. And anybody can come over and we can train them how to inspect.
Okay, and the Restore, it's also a donation drop-off as well, I understand, because I have donated some items to the Restore.
Yes.
So people can do that. But Alice, just for you, I mean, with Habitat for Humanity, it's not just older adults that may be interested. There's also, I guess, younger people or middle-aged people that can volunteer, correct?
Most definitely. We take anyone that is willing to give back to the community, want to get involved, and there's so many areas in which they can support our organization. And the wonderful thing about volunteering with our organization is that the experience is very tangible. We're engaging community members, we're engaging corporate groups, so there's many ways and opportunities on our build site, as well as the Restore, in our offices, and in any events that are happening.
Okay, and where can people go? I mean, if they want to volunteer, sign up, or even attend an info session?
They can walk into one of our offices or go on to habitatgta.ca, and all of that information will be listed there.
Okay, and obviously, gentlemen, has there been any experience in your time as volunteers that stuck out in your mind that you'd like to share with us?
Well, right now we are putting up that building on Torbram, just south of Clark, and my first experience there was actually building the firewall between the units, where we had to mix the concrete. And this was my first time doing this in many years, so it was quite an experience doing that. And not just doing that by yourself, but having a crew. You have to be a leader, and you're actually teaching people who volunteer to do this stuff. So it was quite an experience. Yeah.
Okay, and quickly, Bob, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Well, like Clayton said, we had the first project we had in Brampton was the elevator house. And that was relocating a house up Torbram Road, further on north onto Torbram Road. And it was quite an experience just getting involved with that and be there at the time the house was relocated from one site to the other site, and to watch it develop into 2 homes for 2 needy families. It was very touching for everybody.
The work that Habitat for Humanity does for people is tremendous. So thank you so much for joining me here today. And that's it for now for I Care, I Volunteer. Please join us next time.
Thank you.
Welcome to I Care, I Volunteer, a special series focusing on volunteerism in Peel Region. I'm your host, Jackie Vieira. On today's program, we'll be discussing the newcomer volunteer readiness program offered by Volunteer MBC. We will also meet with representatives from Bethel Hospice and the Canadian Red Cross. Right now, joining me from Volunteer MBC are Community Engagement Manager Shaminda Pereira and Volunteer Ambassador and a member of the Board of Directors, Sukhjit Singh. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us here.
So first,